Hello everybody, it's Professor Reach, and today's video is the best video you've ever watched on learning vocabulary. I very often, early on in a language course, talk about learning vocabulary. There's a number of really important things about learning vocabulary that almost no one seems to realize. And by knowing these things, learning vocabulary becomes more interesting and more effective. The first thing we need to understand is the difference between passive vocabulary and active vocabulary. So passive vocabulary is all of the words and phrases that you can understand. Active vocabulary is all of the phrases that you use. Often when people focus on improving their vocabulary, they focus on passive vocabulary. They look at a book or they watch a film and they go, "Oh, I don't know that word, so I'm going to write it down and look it up in the dictionary." However, passive vocabulary actually improves by itself. Just by reading and watching films, your passive vocabulary will increase. You naturally get a sense of new vocabulary in a passive way due to something called meaning from context. And I've talked about that in other videos. So really, when we're improving our vocabulary, we need to be instead concerned with active vocabulary. That's the actual phrases and words that you use. And this, more than anything, should affect how we select the vocabulary that we want to study. So let's talk about that. How do we select the vocabulary to put in our notes? First, the best source for vocabulary is real language. So not from a vocabulary book or going online and typing words related to animals, but instead looking at real language, like the language I'm using now, and using that as your origin for vocabulary. Next, you should select phrases and groups of words over individual words. If you must choose an individual word, at least try to choose a collocation, that is, two words that go together well. This will help your fluency, and psycholinguistics indicates this is how our minds actually store language, as groups of words. Third, be selective. We don't want to learn 50 new phrases a day. You can do that using repetition and cramming, but you'll forget it in a week. So instead, be selective. Choose things which are meaningful. 3 new phrases a day is great. If you do that every day, you're going to see enormous progress in your English. Choose phrases that you have an emotional reaction to. So when you hear someone say something, you go, "Yeah, that's cool." That's a good indicator that that phrase is something you should take and use. And finally, select phrases that you don't use, but you want to use. It doesn't matter if you already understand them. Remember, passive vocabulary, active vocabulary. We want to improve our active vocabulary. You might understand the phrase with no problem whatsoever, but do you use it? Would it be useful? If the answer is that you don't use it, it doesn't matter if you understand it. Take it. That is a prime target for our vocabulary learning. So let's say that I heard this conversation and I really like the phrase, "Would you like to?" So, okay, would you like to? That's a cool phrase. I normally use do you want to? And that sounds kind of intermediate level English, but would you like to sounds kind of native and cool. So I want to learn would you like to? I understand what it means, no problem, but I don't use it. So I'm going to take it and let's apply this process. So that's selection. That's the first thing we need to consider. What do we do next? Well, number 2, simply write it down. Just writing down a phrase actually helps your language acquisition, even if you don't do anything else with it. Nonetheless, it's even better if you have a lovely, nice, expensive vocabulary book, and when you write it down very neat with different colours and stuff. Why does this have a magic effect on your language learning? I don't know, but it does. So for this step, for my cool phrase, very easy, I just write down, would you like to? Next, we need to really understand the context and use of our phrase. So the best resource for this, in my opinion, is Youglish. And you can see my video on Youglish if you click the tab thing, which is up there somewhere. If you don't like using Youglish, then a Google image search or a Google search should show you some phrases and some context for that phrase as well. I don't really need to do this step for my phrase because I already understand would you like to means do you want to. Next, for the really fun part, which is you're going to make a personalized example. So this is where you take the phrase and you're going to create at least one of your own examples of the use, which shows the use. Sometimes this will mean you'll have to write multiple sentences, not only one. You might have to write a sentence and then a sentence with the phrase and then another sentence, so you've got the full personalized context. This act of creativity and production helps to get the phrase in the right place in your mind. It makes those connections and it helps your language acquisition to occur naturally without excessive repetition and study. So here's the fun bit with our cool phrase, would you like to? We're going to make some personalized examples. So let's see. Let's use our imagination here. There is no wrong answer here, by the way. You just need to create a situation, any situation. I'm going to have a party this weekend. Would you like to come? Oh, yes. Let's write that down. And let's do another one. I've just baked a cake. Would you like to have a piece? Great. Okay, write that down. Let's do another. Let's do 3 personalized examples. We'll really get this in our head. I'm thinking about joining a gym because I want to lose some weight. Would you like to join me? Brilliant. Love it. And it's very personalized and applicable to my life and situation. So yes, that's a great personalized example. Then we want to practice natural pronunciation. For this, you use Youglish to get a model of the natural pronunciation of the phrase, and then say the phrase in your personalized example. So say it out loud and feel that situation. So we have our personalized examples written down in our notebook, and now we want to practice the natural pronunciation. So I already did that really because I said them in the video, but the idea would be that you'd read them out. So if I remember the last one, I think I'm going to join the gym because I want to lose some weight. Would you like to join me? Okay, just need to say it out loud, make it concrete. And now we put our books away, we close it, and we think, well, the next time I'm speaking English, will I use? Would you like to? The work is done and the magic will happen, or it won't. And if it doesn't, maybe you didn't care enough about the vocabulary. Maybe it was just not the right time for that phrase for you. There are elements of language acquisition which are a bit of a Pandora's box. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But we're not going to get too stressed about it. If we're doing this with 3 new phrases every day, some of them are going to stick and your active vocabulary is going to improve like this. And as it improves, you'll find your fluency improves as well because you're learning phrases, not individual words. So I think you can agree that this method of learning vocabulary is far superior to having a piece of card with the word and the translation written on the other side. So forget that. Repetition doesn't work. Works for exams, doesn't work well for active vocabulary. Works a little bit for passive vocabulary, but passive vocabulary improves anyway, so who cares? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you comment down below. It's been my pleasure as always, and I will catch ya.